What's up guys, welcome back. Now in this video we're going to be discussing a brand new rumor for the Xbox Scarlett, codenamed Scarlett, which is supposedly going to be releasing of course in 2020. That is the rumor going around, and we're going to be discussing exactly what this console can do, but it's actually going to be a second console that is being rumored here. We already have the rumored console that Microsoft is developing, that is basically their next gen console, the Xbox Next from what we'll call it, codenamed Scarlett, which would be basically on par with the PlayStation 5 from what all the rumors I guess are pointing to, a true next gen console. But this rumor is specifically indicating that Scarlett will be multiple devices, and kind of like almost following the Nintendo NX original concept ideas that were going around back in 2015, 2016 that were being rumored and talked about even in patent form, and we're going to be discussing that as well. So the secondary console, and we're going to take a look at this information coming from Thurrott.com, and this is posted by an individual by the name of Brad Sams. Now whether or not this information is true or false is 100% rumored right now. We don't know that for sure, but we do know that this is being blown up obviously all over the internet. Everyone's talking about it. People are saying that this is a game streaming box, but looking farther into the information, this is a lot more than just a streaming box from what this rumor is indicating. There's a lot going on here that we're going to discuss. So let's go ahead and look at the information first of all, and then we'll discuss it. So it brings out here from the article, the second console that the company is working on is a lower powered device that is currently planned to ship with the next generation device that is designed for game streaming. But the catch here is that Microsoft thinks it has figured out how to handle the latency sensitive aspects of gaming. The cloud console will have a limited amount of compute, meaning it's going to have processing power. The cloud console will have a limited amount of compute locally for specific tasks like controller input, image processing, and importantly, collision detection. The downside of this is that since more hardware is needed locally, it will raise the price of the streaming box, but it will still cost significantly less than what we are accustomed to paying for a new generation console, which should help expand the platform's reach. And then it goes on to a more specific aspect of how the games run locally. It says, some have referred to it as a slice or splice, means that the game is running in two locations at the same time, meaning parallel, simultaneously, and utilizes Microsoft's cloud to stitch it all together. Very interesting, right? Does that sound familiar to any of you guys who've been following me since 2015? Well, let's talk about that in a second. And then it goes on to say the benefit here is that Microsoft's cloud platform reaches around the globe with data centers in every major market. If a multiplayer game is using Azure as its central server, Scarlett Cloud Console will be closer physically to the multiplayer server, resulting in less latency. And this is referring to Microsoft having a bunch of different data centers worldwide that would make this easier for them to have the streaming service going. However, we want to reiterate that this is not a strictly streaming box. It is not a stick you just plug into your internet service and you stream the games to your TV. This is not like this. This is unique and is also very similar to the supplemental computing device networking patent that Nintendo released in 2015 that I and a friend of mine did a very long podcast about back in late 2015, which I'll put the link in the description. We described the entire patent step by step by step. It was a very long process. If you guys are fans of this channel since way back then, you remember that was a very cool podcast that we did. It would have a supplemental computing device that would not only supply additional power to your game console locally, but it also had a connection to the network server, which would also provide processing power through the network into the supplemental computing device or directly to the game device itself through Nintendo's network. The patent was very specific in saying it would provide things like physics and AI, extra computational power, basically to have your game run better for you at home if you have a lower powered device. This sounds very similar to what Microsoft is doing here, since the rumor states they're not just providing a streaming box, but they're providing a streaming console that has its own processing power that will work in conjunction with processing power through data streaming from the internet. So you'll have two separate instances of the game going at the same time, which is basically the same thing that Nintendo was patenting with the supplemental computing device way back then, that you would have your game device, you'd have the game running, extra additional power will be running through the cloud, through the network, and additional graphics and additional effects we put into your game for you with connection to the server or actually connected locally with other devices that were connected through Wi-Fi. That patent was very cool, it's very in-depth. Again, I suggest you check it out in the link. So since this seems very similar to Nintendo's patent, I'm leaning right now to this maybe possibly not being 100% true. I haven't seen any patents from Microsoft doing something like this specifically for their hardware. But of course, if you guys have found any patents yourself, I encourage you to leave that in the comment section and let me know where you found it from. And obviously, from the way the rumor sounds, this is not a complete copy exactly of how the Nintendo patent works, but it is extremely similar. If there is truth to this at all, you got to think that there might be some kind of patent infringement going on here on Microsoft's side of things. That's where I'm thinking some of this may not be 100% true, because it seems way too similar to what Nintendo was doing already and what Nintendo patented. That is one big misconception that people forgot about way back when, is that they always think about just the supplemental computing device being just this extra device you plug into your console to give it more power. That is definitely not all it was up to. It had a way much more uses to it, with a bunch of networking features like we talked about, very in-depth, a very forward-thinking and very ambitious patent that Nintendo did, and obviously the patent hasn't come to light yet. And of course, in the future I would love for it to come true, but as of right now, Nintendo's not doing anything publicly with that patent. And I do think this would be a very interesting move from Microsoft. It would obviously lower the cost of entry to enter into the next generation of consoles, since they're basically processing some of the power of the game you need to run locally, and then of course the rest of the game would be running through the cloud to your console itself through Xbox Live, no doubt. Since Microsoft has all those data centers throughout the entire world, it makes sense for them to be able to do that. So imagine you buy this Xbox console, Xbox Next, for like $100, and you of course pay for the streaming service on top of that, and maybe it's a monthly charge. That could work for some people, at least for a short period of time. I'm not sure how much that would cost yearly, or if it would just be better for you to buy their next generation console without having to stream any of the game to your console at all, but just have the entire game with you. Personally, right now, with how data networks are, I would go the physical route and just get the whole console and not have to worry about having the extra data being there or not being there. But this would be an interesting case scenario, because some people do have the network capability to run something like this at their home. They have extremely fast internet, and they could have something like this work for them, but obviously it would not be for everybody. But this is very, very interesting, because it does follow closely that supplemental computing device patent that was released 3 years ago and that we went over very clearly on this channel. So I do feel like I am at least experienced enough with that patent to mention that this does seem awfully familiar to Nintendo's patent for it to be maybe 100% true for this rumor. So I do suggest you guys take this with a big grain of salt for now. Patents are able to be sold and purchased. Microsoft could have purchased some of this patent with Nintendo, and they could have access to the same type of things Nintendo is using. That is also entirely 100% possible. So I don't want to rule it out, but I do have my doubts after seeing that this is very similar to Nintendo's patent that they currently own. Alright guys, I'm very curious to see what you thought about all this in the comment section. If you did enjoy this video, please hit the like button, subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you very soon in the next video. Have a great day.